Hey, what is up guys? This is Nishi from MST.TV here, back with another Market Watch episode. So I am back from the Yu-Gi-Oh! World Championship in Tokyo, and it was a really awesome experience. There's literally Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! And anime and everything everywhere. I just bought so much random stuff, so I'm thinking maybe I'll do like a haul sort of video later this week as well. But it was also a really cool chance to get to meet some players and other YouTubers. Hopefully we will have a chance to work with some of them again in the future. But anyways, there was a bunch of stuff that did happen while I was away, so we're going to cover off some of the highlights in today's episode. Let's get started. First up, we are looking at the spell card Abomination's Prison. This is a normal spell card that is basically a searcher for the Unchained archetype, allowing you to search for any Unchained card from your deck. However, it does have another effect, where if it's destroyed by a card effect, you can special summon an Unchained monster from your deck as well. This is really useful because you can use each effect of this card once per turn. Even if you happen to open with 2 copies of this card, you can actually use the other as something to destroy with your other Unchained cards, and you're not just blowing something up for the sake of blowing it up, you're getting actual return out of it. I think that the Unchained deck has really caught a lot of people off guard. Sure, the deck is vulnerable to a lot of common things in today's game, as something like Nibiru can be really difficult to deal with, but the deck can make some really cool combos that have a lot of layers of interaction, and it can be really fun to play with or against. The card has just 2 different printings, and this is another card that has just the original printing and its Mega Tin reprint. Now, given the surge in popularity that the archetype has seen, and the fact that the tins came out back in 2020, either version of this card has actually gotten pretty pricey. For the original secret rares, they were at around $5 or so. They went up to $10 when the new support was announced, but now that the support is officially out, they've shot up to between $20 and $25 per copy. And then with the Ultras, they were like a $2 card at first, they went up to $5, and now they're between $10 and $15 each. If you guys have been playing the game for a few years now, this is definitely something that you'll want to dig up out of your hollow bulk to set aside. With most of the core being pretty cheap, expect a lot of players to be looking for this card at your locals as the one last expensive piece that they need to finish off the deck. Another card related to the Unchained archetype, we have DDD Wave High King Caesar. So this card is something that is being run in the extra deck for Unchained as an option that can be made with the 2 new level 6 monsters from Duelist Nexus. This is a rank 6 that requires 2 fiends to make, and when a Spell Trapper monster effect that includes the effect to special summon a monster is activated, you can detach a material from this card to negate the card's activation and destroy it. This effect can be pretty cool, and it's an interesting piece to add onto the end board of Unchained, which used to only be able to sit on 1 or 2 link monsters at most. The effect may seem specific, but there's a lot of pretty cool things that you can negate. Cards like Branded Fusion, Branded Opening, Unexpected Die, Quick Launch, and Welcome Labyrinth. And of course on top of this card does have a pretty big body with 2800 attack points. Now, this isn't really an expensive card, but it does have just 1 super rare printing that came out back in Code of the Duelist. Because of that, it used to basically be a bulk super. I don't think anyone was really using rank 6 monsters back then, let alone one that could only be made with fiends. But while it was overlooked back then, the card has its niche application in the format now, and what was once only a quarter is now a solid $4 card. Do keep in mind, much like with Abomination's Prison, the Unchained archetype has gotten extremely popular because it's so fun to play and it's pretty cheap to put together. This card didn't get a reprint in the Megatins from its year either, so this is now going to be something that you'll have to work a little bit harder to find when you're digging through Hollow Bulk. But if you manage to survive playing the game from back when Firewall Dragon first came out, you might have a bit of unexpected value lying around in there. Moving on, this is a card that has shot up in value over the past week or two. It is Guardian Chimera. This card used to be really annoying to have to deal with. I remember getting so annoyed with Branded Despia making this card with Branded in red. Heck, I think they even ran 2 copies of it because it provides both draw power and interruption. This is a card that requires you to fuse monsters from both your hand and field, and then lets you pop and draw cards depending on the allocated source of the fusion materials. What really makes this card cool is that it provides non-targeting destruction, and when you can make this card during your opponent's turn when they aren't expecting it, it can be really difficult to play around. One deck that we've seen pop up a lot recently is branded with the Chimera engine, which includes the new retrains of Baphomet and Gazelle King of Mythical Beasts from Duelist Nexus. That engine gives them some really cool recursion with the new monsters, and a new quick play spell card to fuse with called Chimera Fusion, which is able to make Guardian Chimera and can add itself back from your graveyard to your hand. Now in terms of price, I think it looked like Guardian Chimera had fallen off for a little bit there. When it only had the Battle of Chaos printing, this card was one of the more expensive cards in the entire game from a core set perspective, but the card had gotten an unexpectedly early reprint in Maze of Memories, and at the same time, decks weren't really using Guardian Chimera anymore, and as a result, prices had fallen all across the board. But now with a sudden increase in play, prices have basically gone to double or more what they were before. The collector's rares were as low as $40, they're now back up to around $80. The secrets were $10 and now they're $25 to $30, and then even the ultras from Maze of Memories were $7, but now they're $20 to $25. Pretty cool to see the cards shoot up so much, but Branded Despia was already a very popular archetype, and a lot of people have now found an even cheaper variant to play that looks really fun, so more people are jumping onto it and want to have access to Guardian Chimera as an option. Theoretically, this card could be reprinted again in the 2023 Megatins, but we don't know that for sure since it did already get that reprint. This one is basically just going to be a gamble. You guys will have to decide for yourselves just how badly you want to play the deck, and if you think that makes it worth picking the card up now. Either way, if I were you guys, I would wait for another couple of weeks just to see if the card does get that reprint in the Megatins, since the Megatins aren't that far away, as well as allowing some of the hype for the whole Chimera engine to die down since Duelist Nexus is still a relatively new set. On to the next one, it's the Ignoble Knight of High Launcelin. So this is a level 5 synchro monster that requires the non-tuner that you use to be a Noble Knight monster. It has a pretty simple effect, equipping a Noble Arms equip spell from your deck to this card. This is important because it allows you to equip something like an Almaze from your deck, which can equip Durandal and then gives you a search, helping you to better play around Droll and Lockbird. And with the deck having access to Renault as a level 1 tuner, Noble Knights are able to go into this card quite easily. The card can then be used as a link material to go into a Sold, and then you are basically free to combo off. Anyways, High Launcelin only has two different printings. The secret rare from Shadow Specters, which is around $17 to $20, and then the platinum rare from the Noble Knight collector box, which is like $25 right now. It's weird that the platinum rare printing is higher. I feel like not a lot of people really liked that printing back in the day, so it's interesting that people will want it now. Obviously, with all of the new cards that they got in Duelist Nexus, Noble Knights are pretty popular at the moment, so people are looking for all of the different pieces. But the prices here for this card are definitely a bit higher than they should be because of how limited availability the card has. It was only ever printed in 2 sets, and each of them is a relatively difficult printing to find. I don't know, I feel like if any of the existing Noble Knight cards were to get an unexpected reprint and be slotted into a random reprint set, this would be one of the prime candidates, but then again, Konami's reprint patterns can feel really random at times, so we could possibly not see this card again until sometime early in 2024. This makes it kind of impossible to tell, so just like with Guardian Chimera, it's going to depend on how badly you guys want to pick up the card in order to use it now, or if you're okay with holding off and hoping for a reprint sometime down the road. Alright, so this is kind of a random one, but you should recognize this card if you were playing while Hulky Fibrax was still in the game. It is Jet Synchron. Now, Jet Synchron is a really powerful level 1 tuner monster. If it's used as a synchro material, you can search for a junk monster from your deck, and also if it's in your graveyard, you can send a card from your hand to the graveyard to special summon this out, but then you banish it when it leaves the field. Now, you can only use one of this card's effects per turn, and only once that turn. It's usually going to be the second effect to revive itself out of the graveyard. However, this card is a really good synchron monster for synchro decks to use. It can be summoned off of Junk Speeder, or searched for with tuning, and regardless of how you choose to get it onto the field, it's almost guaranteed to provide you with 2 bodies of material, whether that's you're linking with it, or you're using it as a tuner for a synchro summon. With Revolution Synchron's release, the Synchron deck got a lot stronger now, so there's a lot of people trying out different synchro combos. Now, in terms of price, it's the supers of this card that are actually pretty pricey. Despite the card coming out in a structure deck, it is now a solid $8 to $10 card. However, the card does also have 2 very accessible common printings. One was in a side set and the other was in an OTS tournament pack. Both of those were commons, so either of those you should be able to grab a play set for like $1. Now, as much as blinging out your deck is cool, I think it's still reasonable to just grab a set of commons for like $1 total and use the other money towards some other things, since the supers will realistically fall back down to around the $4 to $5 mark over the next couple of months. Alright, so one quick card for us to touch on here, it's Void Imagination. So apparently we're going to be getting a new side set in the OCG, which is releasing some support for several older archetypes, and one of those archetypes is going to be Infernoids. Infernoids are an older theme that revolve around banishing Infernoids from your graveyard and special summoning out a bunch of bodies for free. They were really scary back when That Grass Looks Greener was still legal, since you could hit a bunch of names and just summon a ton of monsters out to kill your opponent with. They were actually a pretty popular deck for a while there, though of course recently they haven't really done anything at all. Void Imagination is a continuous spell card that can be really big for this strategy. It's responsible for fusion summoning Tierra, the Infernoid fusion monster, but the big thing is that if your opponent controls a monster that was special summoned from the extra deck, and you do not, you can dump 6 materials from your extra deck as fusion material for free, which basically means you are sending 6 cards from your deck to the graveyard, which is absolutely insane. Of course, Void Imagination is an Infernoid card that only has the one super rare printing from Clash of Rebellion. It's still really early, and we don't know what the support is yet, but so far the card has gone from being a $5 card to now sitting at $8. There is a chance that this card does get reprinted in whatever the new set is going to be, so don't go out and invest in this card or anything like that. Rather, I think you guys should be taking this as early notice to go ahead and dig up your copies now. Once the new support is officially revealed, this card will likely spike in price again, and you will be able to sell it for your maximum value, though of course you could just sell it now and take advantage of the extremely early hype. The final card we have here is the one that surprised me the most of all. It is Pulling the Rug. So this is an older counter trap card that is actually seeing play because of Edison format, rather than the current modern format. Pulling the Rug lets you negate the activation and effect of an effect monster whose effect is activated on normal summon and then destroy the monster. Now in Edison format, this card can be devastating to have to play against and makes a great side deck card for when you're choosing to go first. Against heroes, this card can hit Stratos and really shut down the engine hard. Against anything running Deep Sea Diva, you are losing out on 2 tuners, potential bodies that you could have on the field to make synchro plays with. And against Monarchs, specifically Caius, which seems to be in absolutely every Edison deck, you're losing a big body as well as the monster that you tributed, while losing the effect of the monster that you were trying to tribute summon as well. The card in these scenarios can be much better against some decks than traditional trap options like Torrential Tribute and Bottomless Trap Hole, yet it's a somewhat specific type of card that it's trying to negate, so it doesn't have a cost attached to it, whereas something like Solemn Judgment would have been much more costly. So for price, this is where it's sort of ridiculous. Ultimate Rare Pulling the Rug is super expensive, like between $50 and $70 per copy, which is absolutely insane, right? Though the prices, they're kind of all over the place right now, and even for the rares which aren't holos, you have the version from Strike of Neos or Champion Pack 5. Those prices are even wilder to me, being anywhere from $15 to $30, and this card is actually moving at those ridiculous prices. I don't know, it's weird because it's an Edison format card, right? So we can't say for sure whether or not Konami is actually going to go and reprint the card to make it accessible for the Edison players. We still don't have access to reprints of things like Ancient Sacred Wyvern, right? So when this card actually does get reprinted, if it does, is anybody's guess. However, it's definitely a card for you guys to dig up out of your bulk and probably try to offload if you don't have any use for the card. Take advantage of the fact that this non-holo printing of this old card is well into the double digits and can be moved for quite a bit of value. Alright guys, that is all we have for today's episode. Some kind of random things that we covered off today, though we have a lot to look forward to with the Megatins coming out just next month, and we should also be approaching banlist season as well, so get ready for everyone to be speculating on that. Anyways guys, if you did enjoy today's Market Watch, please make sure that you let me know by hitting that thumbs up button. Also make sure you leave a comment in the comment section down below, and if you haven't already, do hit that subscribe button. Until next time guys, don't forget to hold on to your MST.TV.